Hello. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to throw on the wheel. I get my ball started by just using my palms to hit the corners. Then what I'll do is take the ball and I roll it around on one side to make the cone. Once I have the cone shape, then I'll use that to slam it down towards the center. And then I press it down to make sure it's adhered to the wheel head. Okay. And then I get my water on my hands and on the clay. Now what I do is when I cone up, cone down, I use my palm areas. What I do first is I press down on the clay, making sure that my elbows are down on my legs, as close to your hips as you can get it. Then what I do at the medium speed, I will take my hands, I'll start out here, bring them in to each other so that my palms are pushing too. You can interlace your fingers or you can wrap them over. And I force that clay from the bottom up into that cone shape. Okay, again, I start from the out, push my palms together. You don't want too much pressure because then you will take the clay off. When I'm done, then I'm going to cone down. So when I cone down, I use my left hand right over left wrist, and then I put this portion of my palm right about here, and I'm going to push away and down at the same time. So what I'm doing is I'm pushing that clay back into that mound. Okay, and I will repeat that process until it's centered. So again, come in, use those palms, press the clay up into that parking cone shape, and then you're going to go ahead and cone down. Now, I always make sure that my right hand is over my wrist, and that will help steady my left hand out. So again, come in, push that up, cone down. Okay, and I will slide my hand back so my wrist hits the wheel head first. And you just follow those steps over and over again until you get it centered. So again, I'm pressing my palms together and then coning down. And again, you can lace your fingers in together like this or lay them over each other. When you get it centered, it will be rotating nicely around, and then you can open the dome. So when I open the dome, what I do is I cup my hands around, take your thumbs, and you're going to push it down towards the center of the clay. So you're making a hole in the clay. Again, and the reason why I cup my hands around it is because it stables out my thumbs. I don't want to push all the way through. I want to go to about a pinky width, and to measure that, you can use your pin tool to measure. Then I will compress the top. So again, I just use my left hand and then compress it. Okay, determining on what you're going to make. Oops, lost my sponge there. What you're going to make will determine kind of where you go from here. Like if I want to make a bowl, I might pull out my center a little bit more, and to do that I use my left hand to support, 2 fingers down through the center, and I pull towards me. So I'm just raking my fingers across the bottom. If it does get off balance, you can put your wrists together, come in and give it a little hug. All I say is a little love. Just hold it there until you get back to centered. Okay, once you're ready to pull up the walls, you'll go ahead and position your hands for that. Squeeze a little bit down at the bottom and start moving that upwards. Release pressure. Your pressure should be more towards the bottom than the top of the piece because the top is thinner than the bottom. I'm slowing down my wheel because it was a little fast. I don't want the force of the wheel spin to change my piece. Now my pressure is released, but I'm just continuing with that pull. Okay, so again, I'm starting down the bottom, which you can use your fingers, you can use a sponge, you can use your knuckle, and I'm always working in my 3 to 6. Okay, now my pressure is released, but I'm continuing that pull up, and it's slow and steady. Okay, I always want to throw a cylinder first, and then I can go in and shape it. So again, I'm going to go ahead and shape this. I'm going to belly this out a little bit, and then I'm going to compress it or give it a little neck. So I'm going to put my whole hand in, and on the inside, my hand is pushing out to my outside hand, which is staying stationary. Okay, and so again, I'm just forming that up, releasing, but continuing with that pull, or shaping, I should say, because we're done pulling the height. I'm going to get the water out of the center there just with my sponge. Again, I'm just going to push out a little bit from the inside only, and then continue that up. Then I'm going to go ahead and collar. When you collar, you're forcing the clay back in. So again, you want to think about keeping your hands real steady and balanced. Again, I want to get that water out before I collar. And I'm going to hold it roughly where I want it to start going inward. So I want to, this looks naturally the right place to go. And I'm keeping that circle stable, but pulling my hands up. Okay, so I'm telling the clay I want it to go in that area. So I'm going to do that one more time, a little bit less. And then I'm going to do a pull just from the neck up of the piece, because when I'm compressing it, I'm making it thicker. Okay, and I'm going to do that again, but a little bit more. If your top gets uneven, that's okay, because you can take a pin tool and just cut off that unevenness. And again, I'm just collaring it, so I'm just pushing it in. And you can see this change in shape there. And I'm coming in and I'm doing a pull. And again, it's a little wobbly in this area, so I need to fix it a little bit. My fingers are in the inside of that area. And there is my collared vessel.